weeks in advance, I started learning this speech because I thought it was going to be very difficult to memorize, and I had it down pat. And then he shot it. Well, it wasn't ever used in the film because he felt it was too redundant. It was very similar to another scene where Mission Control talks to us. So because of the way I learned it, it's like when you were in grammar school, you learned a poem and you kind of remember it for the rest of your life. The speech, this is 1966. The speech goes like this. Mission Control, this is X-Ray Delta 1. At 1920 Fault Prediction Center, 90000 computer showed Alpha Echo 35 unit is possible failure within 48 hours. Request check your in-ship system simulator. Also confirm your approval. Our plan to go EVA and replace Alpha Echo 35 unit pion failure. Mission Control, this is X-Ray Delta 1 transmission concluded.
That's a deleted scene we've just seen.
For a couple of $100, I'll ask anybody here who can play that back.
By his later stages of his career, Stanley Kubrick was reputedly getting actors to do 100 takes. Very obsessive. Tell us what it was like working with him on this film.
Well, you know, candidly, I don't like to do a lot of takes. And he said that to me. He said, I've heard you don't like to do a lot of takes. Is there any reason that you feel that way? And I said, well, I mean, you know, you're Kubrick. I'll do as many takes as you want. But I feel that after a few takes, there are actors who do agree with me, others who don't. But I think that you have like these wagon ruts in your mind, and after you've figured out what works and not works, then you just kind of fall back into the same spot after 5 or 6 takes. I mean, Spencer Tracy wouldn't give you over 3. I mean, I'm not the only guy who felt that way. And it was a fast, I could learn things very quickly, and so I didn't have a problem with lines. And when we got to the lip reading sequence, we did 35 takes. That's the most takes I've ever made in a movie. And to be very candid with you, I still, to this day, don't know what the hell he was going for, because, now, let me explain that. I'm not trying to, you know, come off heavy against the genius of our times in cinema, but, you know, I don't remember any difference between take 17 and take 23 and take, you know, and I thought to myself, okay, this man is way too intelligent. Is he looking to tire us? Is he looking for some other esoteric delivery systems that'll, you know, jump from our pituitary forward? I have no idea what the hell he's doing. So, because it was Stanley Kubrick, I did him, and so did Keir. And then we ended up dubbing some of it. I did.
But the thing, however, your question comes from the fact that his reputation, and you're right, has been that he had asked for more takes than most directors, but I think that happened as he went on in his career. Other than the scene that Gary just referred to, I don't remember an inordinate amount, maybe 6 or 7 takes, and a lot of the time, this was such a technical film. It had to do with the lighting. He would spend hours lighting a master shot in many cases, and sometimes we would only get 2 camera setups per day because it took so long to light. That was really, he had boards with like, there'd be 100 Polaroid shots spanning the board, and so a lot of the excess takes, and I don't remember that there were that many other than that scene, were usually for technical reasons.
I can tell you that tonight you will see a scene where I'm running around the spaceship, shadow boxing, etc., getting a bit of a workout. Then afterward, I presumably showered, and I'm having something to eat. Now, we're in this big, huge centrifuge, which was 65 foot high, made by Vickers Aircraft in the north of England. And Keir is sitting in the hub, and I am strapped upside down. You want to see what a complicated movie this was? The first time they took me up there, I'm upside down. I'm trying to be cool. You understand? I'm an astronaut. I'm on the way to Jupiter, and I am cool. So Stanley says, all right, always kind of quiet. All right, Lockwood on action, start eating. So I'm upside down and I have this fork and I stick red, yellow, and green foods. And I go. It falls 65 feet. And you know what a Rorschach test is, right? It goes. Day one. That was it. And it was like, so we got 2 shots that week. And that was it. Now, Keir, he climbs down the hub and then he walks up to me.
Yeah, you have to understand that we're always together in the shot, so they couldn't. That's why they had to strap him upside down.
Yeah, but what he was going for was to. It was early in our. It was early in our exposure, and he was attempting, as he always did in his films, to place you technically in his film. Like in Passagory, the opening scene is in the trenches. It's 8 minutes long. I mean, it really opens up. So in 2001, he had me running around the spaceship to introduce you to our house. Then he has Keir come down the hub, and I'm eating, and now Keir walks up to me, and the camera, see what happens if the camera is in a fixed position, then the camera goes like this, and comes up to me, and it looks like Keir's walked to me. You understand? In other words, I come down. You got it?
All I had to do was stand. It looks like I walked up to him, but what they did in actual fact, because the centrifuge did revolve at about 3 miles an hour, they revolved Gary down to me, but it looked like I was walking upside down.
Because the camera was in a fixed position.
Right, right.
So this was a time when visual effects actually, and the way
Well, there are no generated, not one generated special effect in this film, not one.
No.
Everything you see was done physically, maybe chemically, but that's it.
You said chemically, and 3 young guys started laughing.
Oh, well, there was a reason that they, you know, the posters, after a few months of the release of the film, they had a new poster that came out and said "The Ultimate Trip."
We signed about 10 of them tonight.
Just 2 other things. We got time?
Yeah.
2 other things you might be funny a little. One, this is, and this won't spoil it for the few who haven't seen the film. And my wife discovered this. The scene where Floyd, the scientist who's going up to try to find out what this monolith is on the space station. And he has a scene with some Russian scientists who are sitting around, right? Well, one of the Russian scientists didn't actually have any dialogue. She's just sitting there with the other scientists. And she's got a sweater, green sweater, I can't remember. Blue sweater. Thank you, that's my wife up there. She's the one who caught this. So she's got a blue sweater. And in one of the angles, in another shot, the blue sweater is not there. So it was the set, what do they call the coordinator? The script supervisor missed it. So Stanley only caught it in the editing room. We're long gone, so was that Russian scientist. So what did he do? He has a voice, you have to listen for it. It's very faint in the background. One of those public address systems, you hear a voice say, "A blue sweater has been found." He's come to the lost and found. And the other story, it's not so funny, but I think it's amazing. How many of you feel that, the way I do, that 2001 has how many of you know what a jump cut is in film?
Yep.
Okay. 2001 has the greatest jump cut in the history of cinema, right? It's when the lead ape man throws the bone into the air, and in slow motion, it morphs into a space vehicle. Well, I didn't find this fact out until many years later. That wasn't just a space vehicle. That was a nuclear weapon. So think about this jump cut, the first weapon morphing into the most recent weapon. Because if you read the book, it's not brought up in the film, but in the book that was released as 2001: A Space Odyssey, Arthur C. Clarke imagined that in 2001 the Soviet Union and the USA would be at loggerheads, and each of those countries would have nuclear weapons in constant orbit around the Earth, that any one of which could be sent down at a touch of a button. So he was making quite a comment with that jump.
I'd like to make a quick comment on the jump cut. What happens, a friend of mine, Anthony Fruin, was there that day. And was Dan Richter, right, who threw the bone in the air. So there was Derek and just a very small skeleton crew. Stanley, Derek, John Alcott, the camera operator. And Fruin was there like as an assistant that day. Anthony Fruin, English friend of mine. And he said, so Dad would throw the bone in the air and John would quickly go, with a pan and 70 mil and wide angle and go up, and they could never get it. They could never get it. And after about that probably was more takes than inside our pod. And they could never get it. And finally, if you see today or tonight, you'll see the bone go up, and then it'll come back. So it's the one, in other words, the weapon never stays in frame. You see what I'm saying? They couldn't keep it. John could not pan the camera fast enough to stay with the throw. So it's one of these funny moments where, in the first time I saw the movie, I thought, well, that's a weird thing. Look at that.
When you saw the film at the premiere, what was that reaction like? Did that feel like a historic time? Was that particularly exciting?
Oh, may I answer this one? Yeah. We had 10 pages on Look magazine. And, I was very excited. And Keir was as well. And so we see the movie for the first time, and at the intermission, we're in Washington, D.C. Now, you have to be an American to understand this. The people who come to our Congress are, by and large, idiots. No, I'm serious. I'm serious. I mean, trust me, I'm not lying to you. And so they're all like, I don't know, they're idiots. And so we premiere in Washington, D.C., and what they really want is Cary Grant and Doris Day, and all of a sudden they get two young dudes. And they get a movie they can't understand. And at the intermission, I was married to a lady named Stephanie Powers, and she said, hey, look it, Diamond Tiara is leaving. All you did was see all these uptight congressmen, leaving. So now they have a big party after. And we go there, there's nobody there. and these programs, which we signed several tonight, are there. If I'd have had a leaf blower bag, to collect leaves, I could have filled that bag and retired later signing them. Those programs are worth a fortune after we sign them. and so anyway, the end of the story is, I still like the movie, and it was a dreadful night. And we walk over and get in an elevator to go up. And the head of the studio, who stuck with us the whole way, never faltered, always provided the money. We were way over budget. And we got in this elevator, and he had this sycophant as an assistant. You know what I mean? I mean a genuine sycophant. And he looked over at me. He never much cared for me. My attitude is I'm slightly an alpha male, and he doesn't like that. And he's kind of like